Good day. Welcome to another episode of the Audible Local Ledger Reads to the Blind podcast. You can get more information at audiblelocalledger.org. Stay tuned for today's reading.
Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to today's reading edition of the Cape Cod Times for Tuesday, March the 5th. This is Doug Fagan, your volunteer reader, coming to you today from the studios, as always, of the Audible Local Ledger Service here in Mashpee, Massachusetts. Now, today we'll begin with the weather, as we always do. And if you've had a chance to look outside or even be outside, you can see that today is very similar to yesterday, kind of funky and nasty, although the temperature is supposed to get up to 50 degrees today. But it's cloudy, gloomy, overcast, with some drizzle and some rain at times expected today as well. So, with that thought in mind, let's take a look at the weather for the rest of the week and hope it gets better. But tonight, it's going to be rainy again with drizzle and a low, however, of only 44 degrees. Now, our temperatures as we enter into March are certainly elevating a bit. But we've got some gloomy, cloudy skies continuing through tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow's high, which will be Wednesday, will be 50 degrees with an overnight low of 41. Same old story, mostly cloudy and a little rain in the afternoon. Thursday, we're going to have some breezes coming in, and it's going to be rainy and overcast again with a high of 45. Finally, on Friday, we might see some clouds and a bit of sunshine, with a high only, however, of 40 degrees and a low overnight of 36. Saturday, we're back to cloudy skies again, with a high of 42 and a low of 40, but seemingly no rain. All right, looking at temperatures around the Cape and along the Cape. Over on the west side of the bridge, we've got Wareham and Buzzards Bay at a high of 53 today. Sandwich and Falmouth, 52. Mashpee, 50. Moving on out, Barnstable, 51 degrees is a high. Hyannis and Dennis at 51. Chatham and Brewster at 52, along with Eastham and Truro. And out at Brace Point in Provincetown, 48 degrees will be your high today. Water temperature, 40 degrees in Cape Cod Bay. Wave heights minimal 1 to 3 feet. And wind direction east-southeast at 6 to 12 knots. Moving out to the islands, out on Martha's Vineyard, Oak Bluffs and Edgartown will both have a high today of 50 degrees and a low overnight of 44. Cloudy and rain out there as well. Further out on Nantucket, Secaucet is at 49 degrees as a high today. Nantucket Village will be up to 51. Cloudy, gloomy, rain out there as well. Water temperature in Nantucket Sound today is the same as the Cape Cod Bay at 40 degrees. And wave heights minimal 1 to 3 feet, as same in Cape Cod Bay. Wind direction east-southeast 7 to 14 knots. All right, friends, there you have it. Kind of a gloomy, rainy week, at least until Friday, when we'll hopefully see some sunshine. So bear with it, friends. That's nothing we can do. All right, let's move on to today's Cape Cod Times for Tuesday, March 5th, and look at what we have on page 1. So here on page 1, we have several articles of local interest. And we'll start now with the headline article, which says Hyannis Intersection, and there's a picture accompanying this of orange barrels, traffic lights, and cars in traffic. It says Hyannis Intersection sets new work completion date. This article is by Susan Vaughn of the Cape Cod Times Network. And here, friends, is the article. Many Cape residents and visitors who travel through the busy intersection of Route 28 and Yarmouth Road in Hyannis may not be happy to learn that the project, now in its 4th year, is only about 60% complete. The project has a projected completion date of the spring of the year 2026, so 2 years from now. That update from a State Department of Transportation spokesperson last week said the $17.9 million project involves a significant amount of utility relocation that could impact the contractor's schedule depending on progress made by the third-party utility companies. Other work includes shifting traffic and allowing for full-depth reconstruction within the footprint of the intersection itself. Construction operations will also include curbing installation, sidewalks, a median island, signs, and temporary pavement markings, along with new traffic signals. The project extends along Route 28 from Cedar Street to Engine House Road across from Cape Cod Gateway Airport. Businesses along the route have been affected, with parts of their entrances and parking lots being disturbed. So the Route 28 and Yarmouth Road, one of Cape Cod's busiest intersections, will be affected, and it says the reconstruction of one of Cape Cod's most dangerous and busiest intersections began in 2019 and was expected to be completed by the spring of 2023, if not before, according to the March 2019 announcement. The project is an expensive intersection realignment, primarily due to railroad tracks and utility relocations, Thomas Currier, supervising project manager for the State Department of Transportation Highway Division, said in March of 2019, 5 years ago. In addition to being a gateway to Hyannis, the intersection is also the main artery for ambulances traveling to Cape Cod Hospital from Route 6. In May of last year, 2023, the project was about 30% complete, with a scheduled fall 2024 completion date, according to the state agency. So what's the purpose of the Yarmouth Road Route 28 upgrade? Well, the stated intent of the project, which went through several years of planning and public hearings as part of the Hyannis Access Study, is to improve safety and reduce congestion for all users at the intersection. The Access Study is a 20-year, $100 million vision to improve access to the village of Hyannis, the largest and most urbanized area in the town of Barnstable and on Cape Cod itself, to improve that for all users, according to the Cape Cod Commission. A 2013 Commission task force, comprised of local officials, business interests, and residents, concluded that a continuation of the four-lane section, including a landscaped median divider and a bicycle pedestrian path and facilities, best served the safety and traffic flow needs of the corridor's users. Additional turning and travel lanes were required as well, as recommended by the task force. So, to make space for the additional turn lanes, the KAM Appliances building at the intersection was demolished 2 years ago. In 2021, 2 railroad tracks across Route 28 west of the intersection were replaced, and 2 more were then added. Work at the railroad crossing will continue as Mass Coastal Railroad installs a new traffic controller as well as new signals and gates, according to the latest report. That work is currently scheduled for completion, or beginning rather, in the spring of 2025. Well, you may be wondering about this work in the busy summertime traffic. Well, during summer construction, it will be halted in travel lanes. During the summer months, work will be limited to operations such as utility relocation efforts outside the travel lanes to avoid traffic impacts, the State Transportation Agency spokesperson said. In the fall, once utility relocation work is completed, the state agency contractor, Northern Construction, will perform surface course paving, permanent paving markings, and landscaping activities, so said the report. The project includes a section of the shared use path on the west side of Yarmouth Road from Route 28 to the old Yarmouth Road intersection, according to the state spokesman. A project in the future is expected to continue the path further along Yarmouth Road. The town of Barnstable has been involved in the intersection project at 3 levels under the direction of town engineer Griffin Bowdoin. Public Works Department Communications Manager Kelly Callipy said the department participates in calls with the state agency to keep up on the project, and the town has contributed to the design process and made recommendations for lighting, traffic islands, and traffic management, she said. The town installed water and sewer connections at the intersection along Route 28 to Cedar Street and a long Yarmouth Road while the state project was underway to avoid disturbing the area later. Periodic lane closures and restrictions, which are in effect now, are expected to continue according to the latest state agency website. All right, friends, that is the end of that article regarding work which has been ongoing for many years at an intersection there in Hyannis at Route 28 and Yarmouth Road. All right, friends, let's move on to our next article on page 1. This next article is accompanied by a picture of a Massachusetts license plate, and that's what the article is about. And it has the capital letters D over a capital letter R on the left side with 4 zeros in the middle. And the article is entitled, New License Plates for Massachusetts Honor Dr. Seuss. This is from the USA Today Network. And here's the article. Oh, the places you'll go. The Springfield Museums and the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles are celebrating legendary author Theodore Seuss Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss, with a very special license plate. The museums began a campaign in 2019 to offer Massachusetts drivers a specially designed license plate featuring the cat in the hat, according to its website. In March of this year, 2024, the museums hit 785 orders for the plate, which exceeds the 750 plate minimum that the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles requires to begin production of a specialty plate. We are so very grateful to the hundreds of people who placed orders for these plates over the past 5 years and have patiently waited for us to reach this incredible moment, said Kay Simpson, president and CEO of the Springfield Museums, said in a news release. Geisel was a Springfield resident, Geisel being Dr. Seuss. Saturday marked what would have been the author's 120th birthday. March 2nd is known as Dr. Seuss Day and is celebrated annually to honor Geisel. So when will the Dr. Seuss license plates be available? Well, according to the RMV, it will take naturally another 6 to 8 months for the specialty plates to be produced. However, they will soon be added to the Massachusetts Department of Transportation website as an option for drivers to select. The licensed Dr. Seuss license plate cost $40 in addition to the standard vehicle registration fees, and a portion of that money goes to support the Amazing World of Dr. Seuss Museum. When the plates are re-registered down the road sometime, the museum will realize the entire $40 per plate renewal fee. Anyone with questions about the Dr. Seuss license plate campaign is encouraged to call the Springfield Museum's Development Office, and here is that number, 413-314-6458. I'll repeat that for you. It's 413-314-6458, or via email at thedevelopment@springfieldmuseums.com. According to the license plate application, the Springfield Museums is a non-profit organization comprised of 5 interdisciplinary museums situated around a quadrangle green in the heart of downtown Springfield, Massachusetts. The museum's mission is to warmly welcome visitors and encourage everyone to rediscover curiosity by exploring connections to art, science, history, and literature. So, free books for babies born on Dr. Seuss Day. Dr. Seuss Enterprises announced in February last month that it is honoring the author's legacy by giving away a free personalized copy of the Cat in the Hat book to every baby born in the U.S. on this year's Dr. Seuss Day, which was this past Saturday. Parents with children who were born on March 2nd, 2024, can visit SeussPledge.com to register and claim their baby's free book. Dr. Seuss Day coincides with Read Across America Day, which was established by the National Education Association in 1998. Both celebrations are an effort to make reading more exciting for families and for young people. So there's been some recent controversy around Dr. Seuss books. The beloved collection of Dr. Seuss books have faced backlash in recent years over concerns some books are racially insensitive. In March of 2023, a year prior to now, Dr. Seuss Enterprises announced it would stop publishing 6 Dr. Seuss books, including And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, and If I Ran the Zoo, because of alleged racist and insensitive imagery. These books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong, Dr. Seuss Enterprises told the Associated Press in a statement at that time. Ceasing sales of these books is only part of our commitment and our broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises' catalog represents and supports all communities and families. A year later, Dr. Seuss Enterprises said it was rolling out new books being written and illustrated by an inclusive group of up-and-coming authors and artists. All right, friends, having completed that article, let's move on to another one here on page 1 of Local Interest. And it says, entitled here, Cape Cod based guardsman Teixeira pleads guilty. This is again by Walker Armstrong of the Cape Cod Times Network. And here's the article. The former Massachusetts Air National Guardsman, charged with leaking classified U.S. intelligence material through a social media group chat last spring, withdrew his previous guilty plea in a Boston federal court Monday and then pleaded guilty to all 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of national defense information. Jack Teixeira, that's spelled T-E-I-X-E-I-R-A, age 22, now faces between an 11 and a 17-year sentence in prison, said acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Joshua Levy, in a Monday press conference. Some of the information Mr. Teixeira posted was about troop movements in Ukraine, about the provision of supplies and equipment to Ukrainian troops, Levy said. He also posted information about U.S. adversaries' plans to harm U.S. forces serving abroad, a particularly despicable act, according to the military. As part of his plea, the Justice Department agreed not to charge Teixeira to the fullest extent under the Espionage Act, which would have carried a sentence of 10 years for each of the 6 charges against him. So what are the ties to the Cape Cod military base? Well, the former computer technician for the 102nd Intelligence Wing on Joint Base Cape Cod was said to have leaked more than 100 U.S. intelligence documents, according to the Department of Defense. The files contained highly sensitive information tied to the war in Ukraine, including data on military activities such as U.S. drone spy planes in the area and Ukrainian forces' use of ammunition. The leaks and ensuing commotion cast doubts upon the future of the 102nd Intelligence Wing at the Cape Cod base, stirring up uncertainty about the overall future operations at the base as well. Recently, an Air Force Inspector General's investigation found a culture of complacency, and several security procedure failures enabled Teixeira to allegedly obtain and leak the classified materials. Disciplinary actions and measures were taken against 15 members of the Air National Guard as a result of an Air Force investigation, including relieving commander of the 102nd Intelligence Wing, Colonel Sean Riley, from his command and taking administrative action against Colonel Enrique Davallo, the 102nd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group commander. Matthew Olson, Assistant Attorney General for National Security, said Monday that Teixeira knowingly and willfully disregarded the warnings of leaking classified information, thus causing damage to U.S. national security and that of U.S. allies abroad. To those of us who have spent our careers seeing firsthand the sacrifice and dedication of our intelligence community and of our national security professionals, it's been shocking, Olson said, shocking to witness the public disclosures that resulted from Mr. Teixeira's crimes. All right, there you have it. The gentleman from the Cape Cod Air Base Intelligence Wing and his plea of guilty to all 6 charges and the sentencing for him. All right, let's move on. Let's break for a moment from the news and take a look at the lottery, which I read to you from my phone because it's no longer included for some strange reason in the newspaper. Taking a look at the 2 most prominent lottery programs, the Mega Millions and the Powerball. Mega Millions, nobody's won for a while, and the same holds true for Powerball. Thus, the Mega Millions drawing, which will be held tonight at 11 o'clock, has a lottery pool of $650 million as their jackpot. Powerball is not far behind with $485 million as a jackpot, and that drawing will be held tomorrow. All right, well, let's take a look at some of the recent numbers drawn, starting with yesterday, March 4th, numbers game. Here are the numbers for the midday drawing numbers game of yesterday, March 4th, 4947. Midday drawing numbers game, 4947. Evening numbers game, here are those numbers, 3044. 3044. Looking at mass cash, again, yesterday's drawing for March 4th, here are those numbers. 12, 14, 17, 33, 34. I'll repeat that. 12, 14, 17, 33, and 34 for mass cash. Now, going back to Powerball for yesterday, that drawing, nobody won, of course. The numbers were 36, 42, 50, 52, 67, and a Powerball of 26. Again, 36, 42, 50, 52, 67, and a Powerball of 26. Mega Millions, the most recent drawing for that, was held last Friday, March 1st, and here are those numbers. 15, 33, 37, 55, 61, and a Mega Ball of 24. Again, 15, 33, 37, 55, 61, and a Mega Ball of 24. Mega Bucks drawing held yesterday. Here are those numbers, all 6 of them. 10, 13, 18, 22, 32, 35. That's for Mega Bucks yesterday. 10, 13, 18, 22, 32, 35. And finally, Lucky for Life drawing again held yesterday. 3, 9, 17, 30, and 42 with a Lucky for Life ball 15. Again, Lucky for Life yesterday. 3, 9, 17, 30, 42, and a Lucky for Life ball of 15. Well, those are huge jackpots for Mega Millions and Powerball. Tickets are $2 a piece. And if you play, I'd encourage you to get those. I mean, you can't win if you don't play. So, as I always say to you, and to myself as well, good luck, player. Here's an article from page 2. Usually that's just a continuation of those on page 1. This is a freestanding article of national interest, and it says the Trump Organization's former chief financial officer pleads guilty to perjury. This is a USA Today article, and here it is. Alan Weisselberg, The former chief financial officer for the Trump Organization pleaded guilty to perjury Monday for lying at former President Donald Trump's civil fraud trial. Prosecutors in Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office had accused Weisselberg of lying under oath when he answered questions in a deposition in May of last year and at the October trial last year about allegations that Trump himself had lied about his wealth on financial statements given to banks and insurance companies. Weisselberg will be sentenced to 5 months in jail, the judge said. Sentencing is scheduled for April 10th. Alan Weisselberg looks forward to putting this situation behind him, his lawyer Seth Rosenberg said in a recent statement. Weisselberg has already served a jail term for tax fraud and falsification of business records in an unrelated case, but he received a $2 million settlement when leaving the Trump Organization and hasn't cooperated with government lawyers while testifying at the fraud trial, allegedly because he signed a non-disclosure agreement with Trump. The civil fraud trial resulted in a $450 million judgment against Trump for inflating the value of his real estate to get benefits such as lower interest rates from lenders. The perjury conviction could serve as a warning to other witnesses in Bragg's trial against Trump on criminal charges of falsifying business records, which is set to begin on the 25th of this month of March. Trump, of course, has pleaded not guilty. During Trump's civil fraud trial, Weisselberg testified in October that he never focused on the square footage of Trump's penthouse apartment in Trump Tower. Trump's financial statements listed the apartment as nearly 3 times the actual size of the nearly 11,000 square foot property, which resulted in a $200 million overstatement of its value. But Forbes magazine had discussed the apartment's value with Weisselberg for years while estimating Trump's net worth. New York Judge Arthur Engoron wrote in his judgment about the case that Weisselberg's testimony was intentionally evasive, with large gaps of him saying, "I don't remember." All right, there you have it. Finally, the Trump CFO, Weisselberg, pleaded guilty to lying under oath during his previous trial and will now face more time in prison. All right, let's move on, friends. We're now looking at page 3, the Cape and Islands page, and amongst the many pictures and advertisements, we do find 2 articles. So let's take a look at those. The first one says, allegations of abuse lead the grand jury to indict a 43-year-old Harwich man. This is by Zane Razak of the Cape Cod Times editorial network. Mr. Barry Viprino, that's spelled V-I-P-R-I-N-O, age 43 of Harwich, has been named in a sweeping indictment for the alleged abuse of 7 individuals, according to the Office of Cape and Islands District Attorney Robert Galamois. Viprino was indicted by a grand jury on 46 charges. The abuse is alleged to have occurred between May and November of last year, 2023, according to a statement from the district attorney's office. Viprino was indicted on 1 count of aggravated rape, 19 counts of rape, 5 counts of indecent assault and battery on a person over 14, 1 count of kidnapping, 2 counts of assault with a dangerous weapon, 2 counts of intimidation of a witness, 1 count of possessing a large-capacity firearm, and finally 15 counts of possessing a large-capacity feeding device for the firearms. Viprino is scheduled to be arraigned in Boston Superior Court on March 12th. Defense attorney Matthew Bober, who represented Viprino at an arraignment in November in Orleans District Court, could not immediately be reached for contact or comment. Allegations emerged in August, according to the police. Harwich police became aware of allegations of sexual assault in August of last year from 1 person. During the investigation, 2 more individuals came forward. Viprino was arraigned in Orleans on November 9th in the Orleans District Court on a total of 13 counts 11 counts of rape, 1 count of indecent assault in battery on a person 14 or over, and possession of a large capacity firearm. He was then held on $100,000 bail for each docket, totaling $200,000. Subsequently, more individuals with allegations against Vaprino came forward to the Harwich police. Upon the presentation of the indictments today, a Barnstable Superior Court Judge, Perino, issued a warrant to ensure that Mr. Vaprino answers to these charges, reads the statement from the District Attorney's Office. The charges stem from an investigation conducted by Detective Sergeant Robert Brackett and Detective Paul Ulrich of Harwich Police Department, Assistant Attorney Courtney Scalise, Chief of Vulnerable Victim Abuse Unit, and she will prosecute the case according to the statement. All right, sounds like that guy from Harwich is in deep trouble. All right, again, now we're going to... Staying with the articles on the Cape and Island page, this next one says, Cape Thrift Store that raises money for cancer patients finds a new home. This article as well is written by Zane Razak, and here it is. A long-standing Cape Cod thrift store that has donated thousands of dollars to help fight cancer has settled into its new location at 124 Route 6A in Sandwich. The more than 50-year-old shop sells small furniture, house goods, art, kitchen supplies, seasonal decorations, jewelry, and more. The Cape Cancer Thrift Shop moved to the new address in October. The building previously housed the Sandwich Arts Alliance that is now located at the historic Town Hall. Buckland Family Living Trust bought the building from Sandwich Associates, LLC, on September 27th of last year for $540,000, according to the assessor's office. The Times reported in June that the store had to leave its previous location after the 1,700-square-foot Cape-style leased building along Route 6A in Barnstable was sold. So, donating with a strategy. Well, the shop donates most of its proceeds to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, and most recently gave a portion to Cape Wellness Collaborative, which supports patients on the Cape. We've always donated to Dana-Farber. That's our primary spot to donate. And then we wanted to donate more locally to the Cape, said Paluzzi. Cape Wellness worked out great. It's focused on social issues of people on the Cape with cancer, while Dana-Farber is the medical treatment facility. The Cape Cancer Thrift Shop donated about $65,000 to cancer causes in 2023, said Paluzzi, noting the store was closed for a while as it moved. In 2022, its service revenue totaled $140,920. The store increased donations that year, giving $90,000 to cancer charities, including $66,000 to Dana-Farber and $24,000 to Cape Wellness Collaborative, according to information available on its website. And this year, Cape Cancer Thrift Shops has already donated $40,000, said Paluzzi. All right, so there you have it, the new location of the Cape Cancer Thrift Store, which is now at 124 Route 6A in Sandwich. And they donate much of their profit or sales to cancer, which is very worthwhile, of course. Well, we're a little past the halfway point of today's broadcast of the Tuesday, March the 5th edition of the Cape Cod Times. So let's now take a look at two obituaries, which we have here in the paper. The first is that of Mary Elizabeth Christensen. That's Christensen. Has a dateline of South Yarmouth. Mary Beth McCann Pomeroy Christensen, that's her full name, passed away at home surrounded by her family on March 1st of this year after a short period of failing health. Born in Brockton and raised in Easton, she was the daughter of the late Archibald and Mary McCann. She was a graduate of Oliver Ames High School and then furthered her studies by receiving her bachelor's degree from Framingham State University and a master's degree from New York University. She had a long and fulfilling career as a home economics teacher in Chappaqua, New York, before retiring to her happy place, which was Cape Cod. Mary Beth married the late Robert Francis Pomeroy in 1949. Together, they welcomed their sons, Robert, Stephen Pomeroy, one son, and began their life as a family in New York. They would summer in West Yarmouth, where they enjoyed all the Cape's treasures, swimming, boating, and making the long memories with family and friends that became family. Bob died in 1967, and Mary Beth and their son Bob continued their lives in New York and on the Cape. Later, then, in 1973, Mary Beth married the late Vernon Christensen, a widower with two sons, Kurt and the late Carl Christensen. They retired to their home on the Cape in 2000 and had many happy years of traveling and entertaining friends. They traveled and lived all over the world, and Mary Beth would continue to add to her long list of loving friends. She could remember where and when she purchased all artifacts and treasures that she would generously gift to family and friends. Above all, Mary Beth lived her life to the fullest. Her family and friends were the center of her world, and she was their rock. Always available, honest with her opinions, and genuinely loving to all of her family and friends. Mary Beth will leave a huge void in our lives. She was the cookie lady to generations of young children on the Cape who would visit her porch and talk to her for a bit. Her green thumb enabled her to decorate with beautiful centerpieces and cultivate gorgeous landscapes in her yard, and she shared these willingly. We were blessed to have her in our lives. Mary Beth leaves her son Robert and his wife Eleanor, stepson Kurt Christensen, and wife Jane. Visitation will be on Wednesday, March 6th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Hallett Funeral Home, 273 Station Avenue in South Yarmouth. There will be a funeral mass celebrated on Thursday, March the 7th, that's 2 days from now, at 10 a.m. at St. Pius X Church, Station Avenue, South Yarmouth, Mass. A private burial for the family will be held at St. Francis Xavier Cemetery in Centerville. In lieu of flowers, please make a donation in Mary Beth's memory to the We Care Fund, Medical College of Wisconsin, Department of Surgery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or the Yarmouth Food Pantry, 845 Route 28 in South Yarmouth. All right, that was the obituary of Mary Elizabeth Christensen of South Yarmouth. Our next obituary is that of attorney Frederick C. Berberick, Jr., and that surname is spelled Berberick. And here's his obituary. Attorney Frederick C. Berberick, Jr. of West Hartford, Connecticut, passed away peacefully on March 1st. Fred was born in Norwich on October 25, 1933, to Mary and Frederick Berberick. He was predeceased by his wife, Winifred Berberick, and his sister, Anne-Marie Berberick Dutilly. He is survived by his daughter, Sharon of West Hartford, and Sheila of Mystic, Connecticut, and grandchildren, of course, as well. A lifelong Norwich resident, Fred and Winnie moved to West Hartford in 2014 for health reasons to be closer to their daughters. Fred attended St. Patrick's School and graduated from Norwich Free Academy in 1951. He received a bachelor's degree from St. Bonaventure University in 1955 and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Connecticut Law School in 1963. Fred practiced law in Norwich at Berbrick, Murphy, Devine, and Whitty, retiring in 2003. Fred was elected as Norwich City Councilor in 1965 and as a state representative in the Connecticut General Assembly for 2 terms, beginning in 1968, serving the 62nd District. He was the town attorney for Franklin, Connecticut, and also served as an adjunct law professor at Mitchell College. Fred served on the New London County Bar Association Grievance Committee, NLCBA, and the New London, Connecticut County Bar Association. Fred met his lifetime love, Winifred Mellor, Mellor, in the 6th grade at St. Patrick's School. They married in 1956 and were together for 62 years. Fred and Winnie spent time attending their grandchildren's many sporting events and enjoying their home on Cape Cod and in Naples, Florida. The Cape held many special memories: sheep pond, basketball in the circle, and Fred's expert planning of the annual July 4th Family Olympics. They leave behind many friends on the Cape with whom they lunched with weekly at the Hyannis Yacht Club, where the old granddad bourbon flowed. Fred was a longtime UConn men's basketball fan and a season ticket holder at the Fieldhouse Hartford Civic Center. A Mass of Christian burial will be celebrated at St. Patrick Cathedral, 213 Broadway in Norwich, Connecticut on Thursday of this week, March 7, at 10 a.m., with burial to follow at St. Joseph Cemetery on Boswell Avenue in Norwich, Connecticut. There will be no calling hours. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to the IPFfoundation.org. And it is culminated with "You Will Never Meet a Nicer Guy." All right, that's the obituary of the attorney Frederick C. Burbrick of summering in Cape Cod and basically living in Norwich, Connecticut. And now for the rest of our broadcast, we'll be moving more to national news. And this next article says, Haley supporters hope for comeback. They don't want Trump. Some may vote for Biden. This is a USA Today article, and it has a dateline of Falls Church, Virginia. Here it is. James Wong didn't love Donald Trump. A self-described moderate, he voted for Trump in 2016, believing cabinet members would be able to rein him in. But he got more and more crazy, said Wong, a 58-year-old former venture capitalist. And in 2020, Hung could not vote for Trump. Hung also could not bring himself to vote for Joe Biden, so he left his ballot blank. Now Wong is holding out hope that Nikki Haley can make a dramatic comeback and take the GOP nomination, or that she will run as an independent in the general election. She might not win, but who knows what she could do to pull votes away from Trump, Hung said at Haley's Thursday rally in Virginia, ahead of the state's March 5th, that's today's primary, Super Tuesday primary. Haley had been zigzagging the country, railing against Trump in packed hotel ballrooms in a last-ditch effort to secure enough delegates to justify staying in the GOP race. The odds, of course, are not in her favor. She's won only one contest so far, which was that of the District of Columbia on Sunday. Without a better showing than she had last week in Michigan, where she received less than a third of the primary vote, Haley will be facing difficult choices of her own later this week. Whether to end her long-shot presidential, that is, and if she does, whether to support Trump. The somber mood of the Republican electorate is not likely to lose Trump the nomination, but it could cost him the presidency. Many Haley voters say they are weighing alternative ways to express their displeasure, such as writing her name on the November ballot or staying home altogether. I won't vote for Trump, that's for sure, said James A. Wilson, 59, at Haley's rally in Richmond, Virginia. I'm retired military, and January 6th, well, that was it for me. Trump and his surrogates say that a vote for Haley is betrayal of the MAGA movement and the GOP electorate. In January, the former president said he would permanently bar Haley's donors from his political movement. He upped the ante in a weekend rally in Virginia where he said MAGA now makes up 90% and maybe 100% of the Republican Party. Another stretch and lie on his part. After moderate Republicans, Senator Elsa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine endorsed Haley ahead of Tuesday's primary elections in their states. Conservative Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio signaled in a social media post that he would hold it against them. I have a long memory. If you're fighting Trump and his endorsed candidates politically today, don't ask for my help in a year, he wrote. Haley recently walked back a pledge to endorse the former Republican president. Still, she denies that she and her supporters are anti-Trump. We had a couple of thousand people in Virginia yesterday. We had 1,500 in Utah, Haley said in Washington, D.C. on Friday. These crowds are not anti-Trump crowds. These crowds are people who want to see an America that they can feel good about again. Haley's been warning at her rallies that with Trump as the party's nominee, Republicans will lose races up and down the ballot. His grievance-fueled campaign is driving voters away along with his many lies, she says, and it will cost the GOP control of both the executive and legislative branches in an election year with an unusually favorable Senate map. Donald Trump can say we're unified. This crowd will tell you there's no unity with Donald Trump. All they hear are threats and the fact that he bars them from being a part of his so-called club, she said, or cult, as may be said, she also implied. And they don't feel good under Donald Trump. He refuses to believe it. Just because he says something doesn't make it true, as he's a habit of lying. He's got a real problem within the Republican Party. While Haley's more conservative supporters say they will vote for the GOP nominee regardless, her rally-goers often say their goal is, in fact, to prevent a second Trump presidency. Ron Oliver, a 53-year-old resident of Raleigh, North Carolina, who saw Haley speak there Saturday, has identified as a key Republican for most of his life. He's no longer affiliated with the party. In November, he plans to vote for whoever's not Trump, he said. Voters are like Oliver are why Democrats are bullish about making North Carolina a battleground state. Republicans have won since 2012, with no recent contest coming closer than Trump's 2020 nail-biter win, 49.9% to 48.6%. The mood of conservative voters at a pair of Haley rallies ahead of Super Tuesday indicates that Trump could very well be in trouble. Linda Angeli, a 72-year-old Republican from Davidson, North Carolina, said she would be deeply disappointed if Trump and Biden were her general election options. 360 million plus people, and these are our voices and choices, she said. It really upsets me. She struggled to say whether she could vote for Trump in November. I don't know. I don't know if I will or will not. I don't have a I don't know. I've been a Republican for 50 years. I can't see I will not vote for Biden. I will not vote for Biden under any circumstances, but I don't know. I don't know if I can vote for Trump. It's going to take a lot of convincing. Haley fans in other Super Tuesday states were similarly troubled about the general election. It's a little upsetting because I've never missed a vote, said Rick Poplinski, 57, who lives in the Minneapolis suburb of Eden Prairie. He described himself as a right-leaning independent and said, I have no enthusiasm to vote for anybody that's out there. All right, a look at Nikki Haley's campaign and some of the comments made by people across the country, well, relative to Trump, the GOP, and Nikki Haley's candidacy. All right, we'll move on to the next. Moving on to the lighter side of things for a moment, let's take a look at the Dear Carolyn column, where people from the audiences outside write into this Carolyn for advice regarding their particular issues or problems. This article is entitled, When Siblings or Step-Siblings Fight, Parent Feels Guilty for Blending the Family. Here's the letter. Dear Carolyn, my partner and I are blending families. We each have 2 kids within the 5 to 10-year-old range. It's going well for the most part, but sometimes it feels incredibly challenging. We are doing all the right things according to experts, that is, aligning routines and rules, spending quality time with them, giving the kids space, but sometimes it feels so very hard. The hardest part for me is when one kid is being mean to the others. I guess I start feeling guilty that the kids are going through this because of our grown-up decision. If anyone has any words of wisdom, advice, or can share any resources, we would be so grateful. Signed, Blended. Here's the response. Dear Blended, kids are just mean to one another sometimes. If you didn't blend the families, then each set of 2 would be mean to each other sometimes as well, and their friends would come over and be mean to them sometimes too. And they'd all get together on special occasions and gang up on someone else. If there's a pattern to the meanness, say one kid is a regular source of the trouble, or one is regularly singled out for abuse, or both, or if it means it escalates into cruelty, then you need to get on to that. decisively and now with sustained supervision. But that would have been just as true with the original sibling sets had you not introduced the step siblings. So while I understand the extra sense of responsibility if you, say, cause the family remix that is causing pain at any given time, your job, nevertheless, has been the same throughout. That is, to model consistent, loving civility and prioritize your kids' emotional health. Parents and step-parents also need a flexible vision of what that looks like with the kids. Carolyn further responds by saying, here's a good thought from a reader, and that is, I have no idea now to get your kids to be nice to each other. But the biggest thing I took away from my blended family experience was seeing how hard my dad and stepmom worked on it, themselves and their marriage. I think because they let us know in an age-appropriate way that it was work. I had an excellent model of a functional marriage in my life. Their marriage and commitment to their blended family have been the lodestar to my life. I'm in my mid-40s now. You sound like you were being thoughtful and doing the right things, and it will eventually pay off. Here's another article, or rather a letter from a reader on another issue. Dear Carolyn, I have two friends who have to one-up me, seemingly at every turn, and I don't know how to respond. For instance, when I was sick with COVID, I emailed one of my friends about how miserable a disease it is. I was really suffering at that point. She wrote back that she didn't have a hard time with it at all. It was just a few days to catch up with her favorite TV shows. There was no mention of hoping I'd feel better soon, or could she help in any way. So what's the best way to respond to this and all other one-uppers? Here's Carolyn's response. Dear friend, the obvious response is to befriend better people. The entertaining response is to offer congratulations for any and all ways they outperform you. Congratulations on living your best COVID. I have much to learn from you. You probably don't want extremes, and that answer hits both of them, but really the middle-of-the-road answer is the same. Decide whether there's a friendship here worth having, and if there is, decide how to behave within it, and to maintain your integrity and keep them from snuffing out your various flickers of joy. All right, there you have it, friends. A couple interesting letters from people out there in the world, sharing their problems and concerns and seeking answers from Carolyn. All right, that's the end of that session. For you who travel internationally, or even domestically for that matter, this article might interest you. It's entitled, Yes, You Can Smile in Your Passport Photo to a Point. It's by Nathan Diller of the USA Today Network. Here it is. Whether or not a photographer prompts subjects to say cheese, many of us probably default to a wide smile at picture time. But when taking a photo for a passport, you need to resist that urge. The travel document comes with a set of guidelines on various aspects of the photo shot, from the background to attire and even expression on a person's face. If you don't follow those, it could delay your passport and cause trouble for you and your travel plans. But that doesn't mean you have to settle for a deadpan headshot. So, can I smile in my passport photo? Yes, but not necessarily the way you'd smile in other pictures. Travelers need to close their mouths and make sure their eyes are open according to the U.S. State Department website. But your photo may make the cut even if your teeth are showing, that is, to a point. If your smile is stretched and your eyes are squinting, the way they might be after someone tells a stomach-wrenching joke, that's going too far, according to David Alwadish, president and CEO of It'sEasy.com, a passport and visa concierge service. A natural, relaxed smile is more likely to be accepted in his experience. You just can't distort your face, he said. I'm smiling with my teeth showing by force of habit. In my own passport picture I renewed in 2022, and it all went smoothly. So why can't I smile widely? Well, the State Department calls for more neutral looks because the photos with exaggerated expressions can make it more difficult to readily identify the passport holder. A spokesman for the government service told USA Today in an email. The International Civil Aviation Organization sets global standards and recommended practices for travel documents, the agency said. Joy Hess, owner and lead travel consultant at Outside the Lines Travel, has advised clients to smize, that's S-M-I-Z-E, a la America's Next Top Model, and keep their mouths closed. While you may be able to get away with not doing so, you run the risk of your photo being rejected by the State Department. And even if the photo is accepted, it could slow you down at the airport, particularly when using sense service machines at passport control. If they can't match your face to what's on the passport, that's when someone will come over and escort you to the line where the human is, Hess said, so it would cause a delay. She smiled at an earlier passport photo and has seen even real-life officials do double takes. They'll look and look again because, usually it's the morning and I'm not smiling when I'm going through the lines, Hess said. So what if my passport photo is rejected on my application? Well, if an applicant's photo does not meet the criteria, the passport agency will request a new photo that fits the stated guidelines, and their passport application will be delayed, the State Department spokesperson said. In those cases, Albedish said travelers will get a letter notifying them that their application is on hold, and they need to send in a new photo. Applicants are responsible for any expenses associated with the mailing of an additional picture, according to the State Department. Good information. So if you're getting a passport picture taken, whether it be at a post office, a drugstore, or wherever you get them done, make sure you're not overly smiling and showing those ivories because they want a serious-looking picture, as the State Department does. Well, today is Super Tuesday in terms of elections and primaries across the country, and this article addresses that. It says, what makes Super Tuesday so super? Well, it's all about the delegates. This article has a dateline of Washington, D.C. More than one-third of the total delegates available in both the Republican and Democratic presidential primaries will be awarded on Super Tuesday when 16 states and one U.S. territory hold presidential nominating contests. On the Republican side, 854 of 2,429 representatives will be at stake on Super Tuesday, which is traditionally the biggest day on the presidential primary calendar when it comes to the number of states holding presidential primaries and caucuses, as well as the number of delegates in play. Democrats will award 1,420 delegates, also more than one-third of those at stake at all times. Nobody will lock up the nomination on Super Tuesday, but each party's front-runner can get pretty close. Former President Trump, who has won every presidential contest in which he's appeared on the ballot except Washington, D.C., has earned 122 delegates and needs 971 more to hit his magic number of 1,215. Once he receives that many, he'll have won a majority of available delegates for the Republican convention this summer and will be considered the party's presumptive nominee. Over the weekend in Michigan, Missouri, and Idaho, though the former national UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, the last major candidate on the Republican side, she won all 19 delegates in the District of Columbia's primary. And Trump could clinch the nomination by winning about 90% of the remaining delegates at stake from now through March 12th. On the Democrat side, Joe Biden is in position to pick up a substantial number of delegates. Biden's magic number currently sits at 1968, though that could shift slightly depending on how the party decides to handle New Hampshire, which broke party rules by holding its party primary in January. The earliest Biden can hit that figure is March 19th. He currently has 206. Okay, well, we'll all probably listen to the news tonight and know what's happening on various delegates regarding the various states holding primaries today. Well, friends, that pretty much brings us to the end of today's broadcast. I've enjoyed the pleasure and the privilege of reading to you today from Tuesday's March 5th edition of the Cape Cod Times, and I look forward to reading to you again next Tuesday, which will be March 12th. And until then, I wish you good health, happiness, and good fortune. This is Doug Fagan, your volunteer reader, saying goodbye and good fortune until next week. So long.